I've seen suns when they heat
Welcome
rise
to
up. I've
Artists
seen
I
guns when they
Admire
heat eyes up.
with Coach
I've
Clark.
seen nuns when they beast rise up. Life snuff, knives rust when they cut through silence. I've seen fun when the weed dries up.
Introduce yourself to the world.
Cool. So I'm Candy Nicole Davidson, really Candy McLellan. That's my maiden name.
Hey!
It's so weird to say. It's so weird to say. And I just consider myself a storyteller through and through. I'm a storyteller. I'm a friend. I'm a sister. I'm kind. I feel like I have something to offer to this world and give to this world through my art. Yeah, that's who I am. Our art just lives and breathes through my pores.
You're an actress, right? How long have you been acting?
I have been acting since high school, really. Musical theater, that's always been the thing. Of course, my mom was like, you need a plan B. So like I tried freshman year and I was like, I'm miserable. So so then I got back into it in college. I got my core up, my core GPA up, and then I transferred to West Georgia in 2014. So I would say a solid 10 years of true what do you call it? Timeline.
Career building, 10 years in the business.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Atlanta?
Yes. Well, I grew up in Warner Robins, Georgia, really small city. Air Force City, actually, military city, and grew up there in Warner Robins. Then I went to college in Carrollton, Georgia. And so when I graduated from college in 2016, that's when I moved to Lawrenceville. So technically, it wasn't Atlanta either. So really been in Atlanta for about 7 to 8 years.
Is that where you? So is Atlanta where you started working theatrically?
Yeah. Aurora was my first professional job.
What's the timeline? So you went to undergrad for musical theater?
No, just for acting, performance theater. My theater program only did one musical a year, and I barely was put in the musicals. Which I was like, okay, I guess I can't sing, So I was a black box straight play girly most through college. And then it's weird because when I graduated college in 2016, then I only started being cast in musicals. So I was like, what the fuck is happening? So I am not trained musically or vocally, just strictly acting and directing.
So you never got vocal lessons? You just naturally are a singer?
Yeah, which I mean that's not probably should get vocal lessons. So
if you're booking work, if you're booking work, you're booking work. Oh, I fake it I know musical theory.
Oh yeah, every
chord
musical.
change.
Can you plunk that? Yeah, that C. Mm-hmm.
C, definitely. C. I know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you went to undergrad, did acting training, and then what? So you said Aurora, Lawrenceville. How did you get involved with
so
Aurora
Theater? I had an apprenticeship there. Every year in my college class, it's like the acting 3 class, like the senior class, where you learn monologues and all your cold reads and things, and then they bring in a professional from Atlanta to come in and see the students. It's hey, try it out. So Anthony Rodriguez, our artistic director at the time from Aurora Theater, came to our program or our class. He talked to us about his apprenticeship, and I was like, this sounds like exactly what I want to do. I did not really feel prepared leaving college, so I was like, an apprenticeship would be just the perfect way to acclimate me to Atlanta theater and get me really feeling confident about me as a performer. So after that, he came to our class, I met him, and then the week after I graduated, I auditioned for this apprenticeship, and I was like, please, Lord, this is the only thing I want. And so I auditioned for the apprenticeship, and I got there, and the apprenticeship was just amazing. We got to meet. I met over 300 people that year of artists, because we were, when you apprentice, you're either in the shows or you're working crew. And so I took that time to talk to people and meet people and build connections. And by the end of that year, I had 3 mutual friends with the artistic director. And I was like, holy crap. And you don't even realize you're truly networking until you just have all these people in your, arsenal. And I was like, whoa. So, we did that. We trained, we did acting classes with Shakespeare. We did puppetry classes. So it was just the perfect buffer after college to really hone in on those skills.
For a year, you said
for a
with
whole year.
Aurora?
Mhm.
Sounds like
Yep,
your MFA, like
2016
MFA
to
training,
2017. Yeah, I mean,
but on the
essentially,
ground.
and then you get to be in shows. Well, you get to audition for shows. You're only guaranteed one show. That's all they give you. They say you in your contract for apprentice, you're guaranteed one show. After that, you kind of have to go into those audition rooms like fighting for your life
Hmm.
to get a show.
What did you do after you left the apprenticeship?
So I'm at the Stone Mountain because I was like, okay, professional world, here I go. But I was just so nervous to audition. Still, like even still. So
Really?
yeah, I was. Even though I felt very prepared, it's just it's hard out here. Especially when I don't know, I'm a plus size Black woman. So also those opportunities just feel so far in between. And I couldn't really, I don't know. I always thought like, oh, I'm getting these roles because I was always making an excuse for why I was booking. I was like, oh, I only booked this because of this, or I only booked this because of that. Not really truly only like, no, I come in here, I do the work,
Hmm.
and I have fun. I have fun doing this thing. So it took me like a year after my apprenticeship to really like be like, no, I can do this. Then I went to Stone Mountain Park and did those performing jobs, working Christmas shows and 40-degree weather. And then I was like, yeah, something's gotta give. So that's when I started auditioning for Stone. I said, the theme park life is it can't be me. Can't be me.
Okay. I didn't know about Stone Mountain, to be honest. That was a theme
Yeah.
park gig.
Yeah, Stone Mountain Park was a theme park kid. I did Christmas Carol. It was like a I was Scrooge, but we were literally outside in this little tent like place, and like 5 people would come up, 10 people would come up. The most we had was like 30 people. Like it was just
Oh,
it
sure.
was it
It was rough.
was
Uh,
rough.
how long did you work at Stone Mountain?
Just for like a season or two, about 2 seasons, 3 seasons. So maybe like half a year. But I was
And
still auditioning for other things.
what happened after that?
Let's see. So after my apprenticeship, I did do Hunchback. That was like my first professional outside of the apprenticeship,
At Aurora?
at Aurora Theater. And then I started, let me see, that's 2017. I think I booked some more musicals like Oliver at the Atlanta Lyric, and then an Octoroon, the Actors Express. That was like my big like kind of breakout role in Atlanta of like, hey, I'm a straight play girly, not just ensemble. So that was truly my biggest one, which was 2018.
Uh-huh.
So it took a year after my apprenticeship to kind of just like test the waters a little bit. And then 2018 is when like I just started really putting myself out there. And yeah.
How many shows have you booked since 2018? In
Whew.
Atlanta.
In Atlanta, yeah. Hmm. I'm going to say 20.
20 shows. Theatrical
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
What are you doing right now?
Right now I'm doing Legally Blonde at a City Springs Theater, which is it's one of my favorite musicals. It's always been one of my favorite musicals for years. And it was directed and choreographed by like the original Brooke Wyndham that was on Broadway. So like that was really stressful and crazy and exciting. But yeah, we opened last week, so I'm doing that right now. And then
Congrats.
thank you. And next week I'll be on set for 2 shows, which is really fun. And worked out perfectly because it's Monday through Wednesday and we perform Legally Blonde Thursday through Sunday. So I'm like, the art gods are looking after me because computer, film, and TV, trying to balance that is so stressful. Um, and then I'll be directing Color Purple at Aurora Theater this summer.
Let's go back to what you just said. You said you're a plus size Black woman. Why do you say that? And what does that mean when it comes to auditioning and or how you see yourself in the theatrical community?
Yeah. So I feel like when you go to auditions and you look around and you see that you are either the biggest one in the room or the only Black person in the room, it can really eat at your self-confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah.
But then when I started kind of owning, like, no, I have something to bring to these roles. I know I'm an actor who makes choices and I like to put the story first. I kind of leaned into that. And then when I started booking, I just never let it stop me anymore. Now, when I see something that even doesn't have my race listed or body size listed, I'm still go out for it. Because I'm like, I'm gonna do my thing, and if they like it, they
Dude,
like it.
did you have like an identity issue like going in like early on? Like what did that do
Oh,
for what did you have to
oh
deal
yeah,
with?
oh yeah. Well, for one, growing up being called like white girl or you talk proper white girl, that started at in high school. So things like that chip at you, especially when you go into like, an all black audition or just a black theater, you start to feel like, oh, I'm not black enough to be here. Or, I'm not this or I'm not that or not black enough. And
Uh-huh.
that's the kind of narrative that I painted for myself. So anytime I would go in a room where there were like black creatives or a black musical or Color Purple, or if I'm going in auditions,
Octoroon.
yeah, and Dr. Rude, I'm like, I'm not black enough to be here. I'm not black enough to be here.
Oh, wow.
And then I finally had to just kind of be like, no, there are so many ways to be black. There was no single way to be a black person. Um, and yeah, so I just kind of stepped into that. And then from there, I'm just like kind of fearless in these rooms now.
How long did it take you to break out of that kind of idea of yourself? Or is it something you
Probably,
still struggle with?
yeah, probably like 20 years. Every now and then it'll pop up in my head like, whoo, and then I have to just kind of shake it off and be like, Candace, you're a bad bitch.
So everybody out there dealing with identity issues, just you a bad bitch.
Yo,
Um,
you a bad, and there was
how
only
you get
like
out of it?
one you. Ain't nobody gonna do what you gonna do. Like you can have similar things or similar, but like you can only bring you. There's only one you. You can only bring you to a role. You can only bring you to the table, to the room.
I think that's a big talking to my students about that is like originality is like a weird thing that because I mean especially like we live in the age of like reboots, right, where everything is like
Mhm.
everything is recycled. And I spend a lot of time thinking about like story. There's not really a whole lot of new stories. There may be stories that haven't been told yet or stories that
Yeah.
are told in a different way, but like I can't really do anything that's like original. You know what I mean? Like I can do
Yeah.
Hamlet, but Hamlet's been done. I can do this, but it's
Right.
been done. But
Uh-huh.
the idea that like, and especially like when you're doing like commercial auditions, when you walk in and there's 15 versions of yourself, but
Oh my
like some of them
God.
are thinner
Yeah.
or weirder or taller or like whatever. But it's just versions of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not original. But going back to like the idea that like as much as you may be like other people and as much as human beings are similar, like nobody ever before or again will ever be the amalgamation of the person that you are. And like that's the
Yes.
originality that you bring is like
Yeah.
nobody will ever have the exact experiences that you do. And so like the voice that you have, like that point of view is why you need to be in the room. Is because like nobody else will ever have that point of view specifically.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And you know what? That reminds me of when I auditioned for the show at Aurora. It was a new musical. No one had done it. It was a new musical. And so there was this landlord part, and it was for this guy in his 50s. That was the role. And I was like, well, this role it's so fun. It's so fun. So I went in for this role and I I booked the role and I was like, what? And the
Ah,
writer like, no, like you were great. Like we're gonna add you more scenes. We're gonna put you in a song. Like, and I was like, what? And I think that was the click of like, damn, I just went in the room and I brought myself
mm-hmm.
and I just did the work. I did it. And I brought myself to it. And because I brought myself to it, they were able to see that and see a whole different character for this person that they originally wrote and was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, that's the character.
That
And
works
that
way better than what we thought.
Yeah, and that was like the click for me that I was like, just be yourself. What? Bring yourself? What? That's crazy.
Well, I think that's like one of the toughest things when you're auditioning is because you feel like you're trying to get a job, and so you're trying to do like what they want,
What
and you're
they
trying to
want?
like,
Yep.
yeah, you're like, how do I give them what will they that will cast me in the versus like no, like,
Uh-huh.
and that's like a big thing that like I think also just takes experience and like doing it over and over again and being in
Yeah.
a bunch of rooms, but there's something where you finally come to the terms of like, nope, this is how I want to do this role. I'm going to go deliver my version of this thing. And if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. And obviously, we didn't want to work. It wasn't our time to work together anyway. But like, that confidence. I remember, like, I love the Bryan Cranston quote of like, no, you're there to audition. Like, you're there to throw down what you have. And like that confidence, I mean, I've seen it work for people so many more times than the other. Like, I've anybody going in to try to do what they think needs to be done usually doesn't have like as um I would say like successful an output and or feedback as the people who go in and go like, no, this is what I would like to do.
Yeah.
Because there's something confident about that and there's something creative about that. It's like
Mhm.
I'm not trying to cast somebody to be a puppet. I'm trying to cast somebody who's a creator. You know what I mean?
Yes, who will create. And to that point of Bryan Cranston, I watched that video. I can't remember when, but that was another turning point for me to deal with rejection. When I watched that video of him being like, auditioning is our job as actors. When you
Hmm.
book it, that's a vacation. And
Yes.
just that, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So ever
Yeah.
since that video, if I don't get it, I'm like, well, mine. It wasn't mine. And I
Yeah.
move on. And it's so crazy how easy I can be like, oh, all right. Because before it
Well,
would eat me alive. I would be like biting my nails and be like, why didn't I get it? No, if it's not yours, it's not yours. I
and it's a
came in,
numbers
did
game,
my
man.
job. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I came in, I did my job. I know I did good work. So I know at the end of the day, I have stamped like, oh, Candy's, we'll
Yeah.
have something for her. So yeah.
That.
Mm-hmm.
That. It doesn't have to be this, but they
Yep.
saw the work I do.
Yep.
Now
And I
I'm
bet they're
yes.
gonna call me in all the time now because they know that, oh, she's making a choice. She wasn't there. She wasn't right for that, but she's a storyteller. She's gonna make a choice. She's gonna be bold. She's gonna, bring herself to the role.
So you talked a little bit about TV and film. You said you're gonna be on set this week.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing TV and film work?
So 2020 was my first time I booked a job. So I had an agent for 2.5 years before I booked anything. And
Wow.
I was just like, okay, clearly I'm not meant for TV and film. Like I was like, maybe I'm not right for it. So then that's when I was like, cool, well, I'm gonna go equity, and then I'm just gonna try the whole New York thing because clearly TV film's not happening. So maybe I'll just go somewhere where I can get paid more because Atlanta funding. So I was like, cool. Well, if I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life and only be a full-time artist, then I have to move to New York because we can't be here in Atlanta. So then I went up to New York and just kind of tried out auditioning for like a week. And while I was there in New York, I had gotten an audition for this show called Creep Show. It was a guest star, and guest star roles are like pretty big. Like you're often like the plot point that you have an arc. Like they're really big roles. Before I would get like smaller roles, like "Hi, would you like some coffee?" Those type of roles. So I got this big role. I was tired. We had been in New York all day. It was me and my friend Caroline, and I got the role, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll audition." Yeah, I'll just, whatever. I'm gonna do one take and like that's it. And then my friend was like, okay, and it was a pretty long scene, but I was like, okay, okay, cool. I know this character, great. So I put it on tape, just like kind of like I'm just do it and do the work. And then the next day they were like, hey, you booked the role, and I was like, what? And before I would do 10 takes, 20 takes, 15. But the moment I let myself go and just did the damn thing, didn't overthink it, I fucking booked it. And I was like, what? So 2020 was my first thing. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. So then I got in TV and film classes, which made me realize, oh, I had to throw away like kind of all my theater training and because it's different. Like you have acting, but TV and film is way different from theater. And I didn't realize that until I got into classes. So once I got into classes, literally, I just kind of took off in TV and film, took off and away from me, I guess, and being
you mean you
successful in those.
you mean you started booking more?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What are some of the takeaways from TV and like film classes that you were like, did I have to throw in? What do you mean when you say I had to throw away my theater training?
Well, for one, it was just you don't have to show me these like what we learned in college. It's like being external and like this is how I feel. Like it's just like talk like a human being, just be. You don't have to like do like you just have to be a human being and be truthful and connect. And yes, we learn that in theater, but
Hmm.
it's a different way. And then the biggest takeaway from classes is like the teacher that I had, she was very big on getting to the core of who you are as a person and bringing yourself to every tape. if you're auditioning for this like description or this breakdown of like, she's a nerd, she's this, don't get caught up in a breakdown. What is your character going to bring to this person? What's Candy's nerd? It's not, you don't have to be a typical, nerd or putting on a character. Bring yourself to this character. How would Candy do this? What is Candy like in this circumstance?
What advice would you give to people who are trying to get into film but they've done theater? And I mean, essentially, I think you just said it, but like, is there a different way you could put, or is there something else to that as far as like, how do you bring how do you not do too much? How do you bring your authentic self? How do you like not show?
It's real. I think it's asking your questions. It's asking yourself questions about who you are. We had this really cool exercise where we had at the top of our page, I am. And so we took literally 10 minutes. She said, 10 minutes, write who you are. And I was like, 10 minutes. And so she's like, no, seriously, 10 minutes, I am, go. And so, we would write, I am Black, I am this, I am charismatic, I'm kind, I'm this, and this, and this. And afterwards, it's like your whole page is filled with things that you are. And then having those things and looking at them, I was like, oh. And she was like, see, these are the things that you can be and that you are. So you shouldn't have to have any question of bringing yourself to a character or a tape, because it's right here. These are the things that you are. So bring those things.
Interesting.
And that's when I was like, huh. So now I don't try to put on this character. I just truly like, oh, this is, if that was me, I would do it like that. And then, I do something silly or do something in my character. And oftentimes it brings me success.
So you said you booked your first TV gig in 2020.
2020. And then the next thing I booked was Hawkeye, which was really cool. And
Marvel.
Yeah, which was really cool because again, it was like this like LARPer. And I was like, huh. So I researched like LARPing and I was like, oh, this is fun. And I was like, cool. So LARPing is kind of like, that storytelling, that D&D, that acting thing. So I'm just gonna like kind of be silly and like put on the accent. I just, just have fun with it. I really did have fun with it. And I didn't get that role, but because they liked me so much, they were like, well, this person booked that role, but we would like to bring Kenny in for this scene as this other person. And I was like, cool. So I didn't even audition for that other person that I actually booked. I auditioned for the main person in that thing. And then from there, they were like, well, we liked her tape a lot, so let's put her in this role in this scene. So that's why I was able to do that. And I was like,
so you said you've had some success. Is your agent in Atlanta? Do you have an Atlanta representation?
Yes, my representation is Alexander White Agency, and my agent is Taylor Thomas. And she was my commercial, but now she's my commercial and my TV and film.
So you had that rep 2.5 years before you booked?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think shifted?
I stopped getting in my head about it. I stopped getting in my head about these tapes, and I started just being like, just make a choice. It was the whole character thing. I was trying to put on these characters or being like, what can I do to make casting like me? Or what are they looking for? What do they want? And so once I got in those classes and realized they just want you. They just want what you will bring to this character. Yeah.
So it was a perception thing that shifted for you. It wasn't like opportunities. It wasn't like they're sending me out for stuff. It was like, no, I saw what needed to be done, and then I stopped trying so hard.
Yep, I stopped trying so hard.
That's interesting.
And then it's the whole thing of rejection too, of like, if I don't book it, like, cool. Once I do a tape, I rip up them sides and I throw it in trash.
Yep.
I just did my job.
Did my job.
Yep, I just did my job.
Yes, the audition's done. The job's done.
Yeah. Woo! Yay! On to the next.
What's also crazy is like, before you had rep or before you got auditions, like you would die to get auditions. You're like, if I could just get auditions, I'd feel accomplished. And then once you get auditions, you're like, well, I need to, if I'm not booking, and you're like, at what point is the success actually success, bro?
Exactly.
So how has your TV and film career been working for you since like 2021, as things has it seemed to, like, have you been booking more? Has things been more snowballing for you?
Definitely been booking more, and I feel like it kind of keeps coming. And I think another part of that is my agent really getting to who I am and sending me auditions that like okay, we realized that Candy does really good with comedy. So let's really shoot her out for like these comedic roles and these like quirky roles. And like when I get things like that, I'm like, oh, because like I said, she wasn't my agent at first. I had a different agent. Um,
Okay.
so then I just got to her maybe like a year ago. And so she kind of had to relearn me as my agent had finally had learned me. And then now she's starting to learn me as well. So like it's been like a nice um yeah, it's been a nice thing. But yeah, I feel like I've been booking relatively. It's hard to like put like a success rate on like booking of like, well, because for me, I feel like I'm doing great.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm booking TV. I know so many actors who will only book one time a year or none a year. And the fact that I feel like I have booked at least 5 a year or 6 or 7, that feels very successful to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're consistent about five to six a year, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
guest stars or for small bits or
Or
whatever
co-star.
considered.
Yep. Yep.
What's the
And like,
biggest? What's the biggest thing you've booked since you started doing film and TV? I guess biggest is like most lines or biggest project or like what? Maybe it's the
gosh,
Marvel thing.
it was a Marvel, which oh my God, I freaked out on Marvel because I had that was because Creep Show was like chill, but Marvel, there's like 500 people on set, 500 people on set, and they're so confidential about everything. So I didn't even know I was gonna have my scene with Jeremy Renner until I got on set and he came up to me and was like, "Hey," and I was like, when Caleb, it was so bad. Like I
Hi,
was like,
hi, nice to meet you. Are we working together?
yeah, I'm like, wow, they didn't tell me this because they're so confidential about everything. But yeah, it
That's
would definitely
wild.
be, yeah, it was crazy. And I had only had like 3 lines, and then I kept calling for line because I was so nervous and freaked out. And he was like, "Hey, you're okay, just relax." And I was like, "Yeah, got it." And then at one point he was like, "Oh, this would be really funny if we did this." And they were like, "Oh no, that's perfect, Jeremy. We should do that." So then he ended up giving me more lines because he was like, "We should do this bit where I ask you this question and then like I just go, no, no. So just ask a bunch of questions. And so he just ended up giving me more lines with him being like, oh, we should do this. So it's kind of crazy. It's crazy. But my biggest role definitely will be the resident. I was a guest star. Um, and my story was one of the lines that kind of went throughout the whole entire show. And it was like funny and quirky, but also she had to be very serious. And what were you
When you
about to
say
ask?
show, do you mean the season or do you mean like an episode?
Oh, an episode. I was a guest star.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Just one. That was probably my biggest, I feel like, because I think I'm thinking about range as well. I got to
Uh-huh.
um be like funny and quirky, and then I had to drop in and be like getting news of like my x-ray or that I might possibly have cancer, and then I had to have a seizure. Like it was like
Oh,
I
wow.
had knocked out so many like big things that like I was like, whoa. So there was like a person on set like teaching me like, okay, this is the seizure thing and this is what happens when a person has seizure, even though I researched this already, which was helpful because when I said I was like, oh yeah, yeah. So she was teach there's a person on set that teaches you like, hey, like your body seizes up. So when you do like, so that was really fun to do. And probably like the biggest thing I've done so far.
Let me ask you this, because you talked about Jeremy Renner coming up with good idea, Jeremy. Thanks. Let's try it, Jeremy. So you talked about him coming up with a bit in just while you were filming and being like, let's try this. Um, so with theater, you're given text and you rehearse it and you rehearse it and then you put it up. What has
Mhm.
been your experience with film and TV when it comes to how close you stick to the script, how quickly you're expected to learn lines, like what improv is done on the like what is the expectation of an actor on a film set versus or a
Yeah.
TV set versus like the expectation of an actor in a theatrical rehearsal?
So it's very interesting because in my tapes, I'll go all out. I'll do an improv. I'll improv at the beginning. I'll improv at the beginning. I'll change up the words. But then you get on set and it's like, oh, there's a script supervisor who's like, hey, no, that's not the line. And you're like, oh yeah. Or like, you're really big and like, and then like, you don't say, then like, oh, can you just be like a little, just can you shrink a little bit? Like just say it. And I'm like, oh, but my tape was okay. So it's hit or miss. It's really some directors will be like, yeah, improv a little bit here, and like we'll do that, and then some are like, no, like stick to the script, please, because then you have the celebrity who has been there either for seasons and already has their kind of like cadence, and when you get a scene partner who actually is their show, or it just becomes a different value. So you kind of have to be at the mercy of them, because you're just there to support. You're there to support. You're
Ah,
there to move the story along. It's not about you. Versus a tape is like it feels like it's about you. Yeah, this thing is about me. But then you realize, oh no, like I'm just here to support and move this story along. So you kind of just have to be at the mercy of your scene partner and what they give you and what you give them.
that's interesting. What about
Yeah,
the
and
time
you give a
frames?
rehearsal. You get like
What
a
about,
little quick. Hmm?
yeah, no rehearsal. What about the time frames of rehearsal? Do you have any rehearsal when you do that kind of stuff?
Not really. You get to set, you get your makeup on, your costumes on, you get to set, and then you do like a little blocking, and that's pretty much it. They give you the blocking. They're like, hey, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. You'll read through it, and maybe they'll be like, okay, could you do this with it? And you're like, okay, cool. And they're like, all right, pictures up. And that's it. There is no
And you just
like,
go.
yeah, there's no like, well, how about day of rehearsals? I think they do that for sitcoms, but for TV and film, like, mm-mm.
Have you ever done a gig where, I mean, I guess the Marvel one, but have you ever done a gig where you got a script and then you showed up and they were like, we rewrote it, here's the lines, and let's go.
Not fully, but I know recently Will Trent actually. It was completely different. I auditioned, I was a bridesmaid, but then when I got to set, I wasn't a bridesmaid anymore, I was a guest. So those lines changed around. And then at some point we were doing something like, oh, that doesn't make sense because in the last scene we did that. Hey Candy, can you just say this instead of that? All right, rolling. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's a new line.
So how do you pull that off? How do you have the confidence and the how do you how do you trust yourself to be able to do something that quickly in the moment, when especially when you come from a theatrical background where it's like, I have the script for months, I read it, I prepared, I
Right.
built a character arc, and now I'm
Right.
here and they're like, pressure's on, money.
Yeah, time is
Yeah.
money. Oh my gosh, it's a time money. Yeah, it's. I think knowing that I can get several takes helps. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll get one out, but then at the end of the day, you'll have like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 takes strictly on you. So I think knowing that, having that buffer of like, oh, I'm gonna get several takes. So maybe the first time, the second time, I may not have the line, but like by the third time, I'll have the new line that you just threw at me.
Sure. Do you feel like do you find that there's like a lot of pressure for you to get it in a couple takes, or is it usually like, we got, we've set a certain amount of time, you're going to get at least 5 goes because we're not going to trust that we get it in two?
Definitely pressure. I think it's more pressure when you just have a few lines, because you're like, you can't be the one holding up this whole process with your 3 lines. But if something like, if I'm on Creep Show or The Resident, where I had a guest star, I knew that it was going to be they were going to be a little more patient with me because like this episode is about me, or I'm a big part of this episode, so it feels like I'm a little more comfortable to make mistakes versus when you have like hey, would you like a coffee?
That's so interesting. Like, that's so interesting that like you're important to this show so you can fuck up more versus like,
Yeah,
you have one line, like, you have to be perfect. You're like, I
right. You're
have
like,
one line, I've been here for an hour.
don't fuck up these 3 lines, like. And also just the waiting. You get to set at like 5 a.m. and you don't actually get to set until like noon. So you're sitting around looking at the script. These 3 lines, but it's just something about having all these cameras in your face and all these people staring at you. Like, and it's so funny too, because even being on set now, when I watch movies or television or even scary movies, I'm like, I'm not even scared because I know that like there's like 10 people in her face. Like, so like it's yeah.
Has shooting films made it harder to enjoy them when you watch them?
It is. And I'm constantly
Yeah.
being like, oh man, they're just the camera's like right in her face. you know?
I do feel like people think that there's zoom, and
Right.
it's like, nah, bruh, it is like,
Well, I watched the Challenger, the interviews with Zendaya and like her 2 scene partners, and everyone was like, well, how are the intimate scenes and this is that? And she was like, I mean, They're not really intimate. There's like a camera in our faces while we're like making out. And there's all choreography. So like so it's
Intimacy
hard for
scenes.
things to feel real when there is like a, so I will say it feels more real when you're on stage and you're in a character versus on TV and film, and it's hard to really drop in or feel real. I know for the resident it felt real because I was in the hospital bed. They had an IV, like a fake IV plugged up and like all these things. And I was like, whoa, okay, I don't even need to like pull from anything. Like being strapped to this, having a hospital gown, the atmosphere. I remember the director being like, hey, we're not gonna call action. We're just gonna be quiet. I'm gonna have everyone on the set be super quiet and you just go when you go. And even having that permission was amazing because I feel like if he was to say action, then I felt like I would have had to been like, okay, all right, come on, tears, like, okay, bring, but with
Uh-huh.
him not doing that, I was able to just drop in so well.
That's interesting. That's so interesting that you say that it's actually easier to drop in theater, when in theater most of it's imagination, yet in
Yeah.
film so much of it is reality. But because there's so many distractions and other things going on, it's
Mhm.
actually harder. That's
Mhm.
great. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. That's what it feels like to me. Yeah.
You also said that you're directing this summer,
hmm
and I also
I'm
know that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying Color Purple.
Color Purple. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where is that at again?
Aurora Theater.
Aurora.
Yeah.
And so I also know that you've been or are still possibly a casting director.
No. I actually left that job.
Okay, but you do have casting director experience. You were a casting
Yes,
director for
and
a
I
long
and
time.
I want to continue doing cast. I feel like my overall goal in 10 years, I would love to have my own casting agency. I think that's one thing that I really, really want to do.
So how do you? Something that I found is that sometimes it's hard to break out of typecast, and not typecast isn't like this is what you play, but typecast is in this is your job. Like I'm a fight choreographer, and it's been hard to convince people that I'm a fight choreographer in the town when they see me as an actor because they go, "You're an actor."
Mm-hmm.
Or like so you're somebody who's like, I do musicals, I do film, I do TV, I do straight plays, I'm a director, I'm a casting director. Like how do you navigate that? How do you open doors for yourself? How do you create different versions of the things that you can do in this in Atlanta specifically? Like how have you found a way to open up those doors and like tell people like I'm multifaceted, I'm not just one thing?
Honestly, I love being a fly on the wall. I always like to reach out to people and be like, hey, how can I just either sit in the corner in your rehearsals or sit in this room or be involved? And with me being there, and especially when I have directors who are like, hey, what are you thinking? Then I'm able to bring like, oh, great. Yes, I saw this thing. Um, and I feel like this. And I think with them being like, oh, she actually has value to this, they're able to trust me a little more. So I think the more I've gotten in the rooms just to be an assistant or associate, I think that has helped me a lot to have people believe in me, I guess, as a director. Because yeah, like you said, I came out of college being an actor. So when I do direct, everyone's like, "Oh, you," and I'm like, "Yeah, like I actually like did a lot of directing in college. Like that was like my thing in college." But I just didn't think it was feasible for a career path because I just didn't think it was feasible to do that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It is kind of hard to pivot when you've been known for one thing so
Uh-huh.
long. But yeah, I think just getting in the rooms as much as I can and humbling myself and knowing that like I don't know it all. And I'm so willing to learn under other artists and other directors and choreographers and yeah.
What was your first directing gig outside of college?
First directing gig was oh, what was it? What was it? Was it TYA? I think yes. It was at Georgia Ensemble Theater. I directed Dragon Loves Tacos and I choreographed it. And then I also co-directed She Persisted, the musical. And then right after that, actually, I had directed at LSU. My
Uh-huh.
professor who knew me as a director, she put my name in the ring for a show there at LSU, and then they were like, "Hey, you want to direct the show? Like we heard that you're great." And I was like, "Oh my God, like I haven't directed in a long time." Yes, I want to. So just the fact that I did not have a lot of stuff on my resume and they still were like, we would love for you to come in and direct our grad students was so big for me. And I think that was a pivotal point of like, okay, I yes, it's outside of Atlanta, but I'm getting the chance to actually direct and finally direct a play and something with meat. And that was another thing that I was like, cool, I can do this in Atlanta. I can do this in real life. Like I can, um, yeah. So it was Dragon Loves Tacos, and then it was operating systems at LSU. And then I came back and was like, cool, hey y'all, I'm a director. Period. Director. I would love to get in these rooms. I would love to be the director if you can't, And then Stage Door has called me back several times to be a director. I did The Niceties. It's a Wonderful Life. They just asked me to do another show for next year. So I'm really excited to just add more things to this resume.
Sure.
I love directing. Directing has made me a better actor, and acting has made me a better director.
How?
Um,
I love that. How?
I think as a director, I'm able to communicate better with actors because I know as an actor, I know what I want to and how I would like to be communicated with and how I would feel. So I think it's easy for me to put my shoes in the shoes of an actor, and I'm able to communicate with them what I need or what I want or what I'd like to see. And I think just that having that communication is everything because there's a lot of directors who have never acted before.
Yep.
And that makes it very hard to communicate and be on the same page when you don't know what it's like on the side of the table. So yeah. And I think as an actor, it's like, oh yeah, just come in the room, make choices. You don't have to ask for permission to make a choice, like just do it. Um, and then knowing like the landscape of things, like well, what feels right, like what is my action as this actor? What is this feeling? And so actions have been really big for me. When you learn in directing, it's like actions, 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 actions. So then I'm able to put that as an actor and be like, okay, cool. What is my action in the scene? Okay, what is this action making me do? What is this action making me feel? So I'm able to kind of gel them all together.
Why Atlanta?
Why Atlanta? I'm comfortable
Yeah.
here. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. I'm comfortable.
What do you mean by
But
you're comfortable?
I'm comfortable as in I feel like if I were to go out for 10 plays, if I was to audition for 10 plays, I know that I would confidently get cast in at least 6. And I think having that comfortability is nice. But I know no, and I'm in a point in my career where I need to be challenged more. So now I'm considering like, kind of branching out from Atlanta. But Atlanta's just home. Atlanta's home. It feels right. I can still do theater, but also still keep my TV and film career, which TV and film is booming here in Atlanta too. So that's what kind of it's like that pulling force of like, oh, do I go out and do theater other places? But also, how do I keep my roots here in TV and film? And so it's just like the, but Atlanta is always home. It's always home. It feels comfortable. It feels good. Yeah.
Does Atlanta do specifically theatrically? Does it do work that you enjoy? Is like there, besides the fact that you were here and you grew up around here and you went to Lawrenceville,
Yeah.
like
Specifically, Theatrical Outfit is one of my favorite theaters. And that's where I feel like I'm doing important work. I'm doing human work. I'm doing things that touch the human emotions and make people think and make them uncomfortable sometimes. And yeah, so Theatrical Alpha is definitely a theater that I feel like is doing really meaningful work that feeds my soul.
plus you have the musicals.
Yeah, I have the musicals.
There's musicals outreach here. There is
Mhm.
so I mean like there's like the Alliance, and there's also Actors Express, and there's different variety.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing TV and film work right now, which would obviously keeps you tied to Atlanta to some degree, do you think you would still be here, or do you think that you would have moved?
No, I think I would have, because like I said, I was going to New York in 2020, and after the pandemic, it kind of, been like, "Ugh, well, maybe this is a sign. I should stay here and I should be here." But now I'm in a show with a whole bunch of like people who live in New York, and just hearing them talk about it and how they feel. And I know how I feel when I go to New York, when I feel at home. And I know when I've done out of state contracts, I feel very like, oh, this feels great. So I know that I would definitely be out exploring other cities, exploring other theaters. Because then you get outside of Atlanta and you realize Atlanta's just a drop in the ocean. It's a drop in the ocean. There are other things out there that'll push you and, you know, mind shift everything.
I guess the last thing I want to talk about, or I want to ask you about, is do you consider yourself to be an Atlanta theatrical staple? Like, I've talked to some actors who have been here for a while, who worked a lot, who get consistent gigs, and like, I've said it to Rin, where I'm like, you're a staple, and she's like, I know I'm not. Do you consider yourself to be that? And what does that mean for you?
I I'm kind of like ran. I'm like, no, no, but I do.
Yeah, I want to be bashful.
No, but I feel like I am just because I see how this community kind of holds me to a very high standard or puts me on this pedestal and has made me a leader. Um, so I know a lot of younger people look up to me a lot in this Atlanta community, and they're always like reaching out for coffee and like, can we talk? Because I see that you're like just out here, just every time I see you, you're doing something, you're doing something. And I'm like, yo, I have to. I told myself I am not doing a daytime job. It's not in my blood. I can't do it. I have to be a full-time artist. So that means I'm going to put myself in many different things. And I think in those areas, people are very inspired by that. So I do feel like I'm very inspiring to a lot of people. Um, and I feel like I do good work that inspires others as well. And a lot of people know me and enjoy me. So I do think, I don't know about a staple. I feel like a staple is very like legend, very Andrew Bonator, very, I don't know. I feel like I'm too young to be like a true like, but I do feel like I make an impact on this community. Um, which is a lot of pressure, but it's also very exciting to know that I have people looking at me to pave the way. And yeah.
Well, then what? Okay, so what would you say to all those cats who asking you for coffee? Inevitably going to be like, how do I get to where you're at? How do I do what you're doing? Like, if you could, give them a. I mean, there's 1,000 things that I'm sure you could say, and there's like, it depends on what you want to do and what exactly you want. But like, what wisdom can you impart from where you're at in your career and kind of your journey at this point?
For me, I would just say lean with kindness, lean, lead with love, and just be yourself. Don't worry about trying to climb the ladder. It's just make relationships and really hone in on relationships. Friendships, relationships, building a community. Because I look around with the people that I came up with in my apprenticeship, and now everyone's in like these leadership positions, and we always put each other's names out. Like we're always going to root for each other. So like, don't worry about also people that aren't in your generation. Look at the people who are in your generation and hold on to those people, because when y'all come up together, it's just going to be, just we can all eat. We can all eat.
We can all eat. Yo, and the theatrical community is small and its memory is long.
Okay. Yes, that is correct.
For real. Um, yeah, I think that's great. I think relationships is not only a great place to end, but also like an important thing that as much as we talk about it, we don't talk about it because it becomes such a, especially, I mean, for individuals, for everybody, it becomes like a grind, and it becomes like I need to book, and it becomes like I need this and I need
Mhm.
this, and this is how I've sustained, and this is how I become successful, and I need to make this much money. And we forget that like the whole point of this is like the first thing you mentioned at the very beginning is storytelling, like,
Yeah.
which is a communal effort,
Mm-hmm.
and it benefits community, and it is done by community. And every job you book, you know, you might be the guest star for the day, but there's 13 people around you, and camera operators and script supervisors and directors and co-stars and and other people who only have one line that day and who are really trying not to fuck it up. Like,
Yeah.
so the constant reminding yourself of like, it's not about me, it is about us. And I
Mhm.
think that the people who I've seen who last And the people who I've seen who do the best work are the ones who don't ever forget that like community is the point of it, and is also like how you become successful. It's like
Yeah. Yep.
you are part of the community. If you do not see yourself as part of that, whether it's the artistic community or the theatrical community or the Atlanta community, like whatever the situation is for you, I think that that's really important. So I think that's great.
It's everything. It's everything. Yeah.
Everything is everything. All right. Well, thank you very much. Everything. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. It's nice to catch up with you again.
Yeah, it was fun to talk.
Yeah, I hope we got some shows at Aurora coming up that I think I might be able to get into. So hopefully we get another comedy. You know what I
Hey.
mean? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes, I'm dying to be in another show with you. I don't know who I was talking to, but I was like, that motherfucker Josh, bro, like, is a masterclass. Like, just watching him, observing him, it's stop it, please.
Stop it. I can't.
Don't make me
It's
sing.
just,
Don't make me sing.
this podcast isn't about me.
But no, it's true. Like it's just you are the one to watch, and the specificity and it's great. And I excited to be in a show again where I can have a scene partner that will, bring that out of me and make me a better artist. So yeah.
Appreciate you, man. I loved working with you.
Yeah.
It'll happen again. It'll happen again.
Yeah,
Very
it will.
soon, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Cast me in Color Purple. I'm lying.
You can be a wing singer. You can be a wing singer. We'll put you in the wings.
Singer? I'll just hide in the. Nah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go talk to Andrew and see what's going on with his life. And I appreciate your time.
Bye, man.
I've seen suns when the heat dries up.